It's time for talking points. Right, you know the drill. Jack has asked if I come to him first on every one of these. All right, here we go. We will be speaking to Nicky Henderson later on in the show, and I know that everyone has suggested about 150,000 things to do with Constitution Hill before and after the race. But I guess, you know, we sort of wanted to discuss it between us, where you go, what you do with Constitution Hill. I think you hope, Robert Cooper, that something comes to light with this horse and you can explain somehow what happened, why it was such a lacklustre performance, really start to finish. I mean, first and foremost, it was just gutting to see, wasn't it? You wanted the match-up. He's an absolute champion, and yeah, he just didn't look in any way the same.
I feel for Nicky Henderson. I feel for the owner, Michael Buckley. We had that oh no moment at, you know, Cheltenham and again at Aintree. It's been an absolute disaster for Connections. I mean, he never at any stage at Punchestown did he ever look like winning. He ballooned the first, and he just never looked comfortable.
Mm. And you've got, you know, you've got a scenario where, like, we were really robbed at Cheltenham last year because he was fine before that gallop. It seemed all guns blazing, and then we know what happened with the whole team. And it really hung over the festival, I felt. We never got the chance to see him. And you roll on to the Tuesday this year, and you got a hugely dramatic race. It was an incredible race for so many reasons. Yeah. But I think after that, you just went, OK, we're done with that now. It was really dramatic. Can he just go and win now? Then Aintree happens. And now here we are. He's been given an Ascot Gold Cup entry.
He won't run in that, will he?
You feel like he can't after this. You feel like, I mean, again, we'll speak to Nicky later on.
This was almost the worst, really, at Punchestown, because at least there were excuses because he fell in the other two races. There was, you know, it was just really head-scratching. As you say, something must come to light why he ran so badly.
Just from a trainer's perspective, and again, just to branch out from Constitution Hill, but when you have a horse, and you're fortunate you've only got 15 seconds to answer this, but when you have a horse who suddenly sort of isn't doing what you're expecting, I mean, how do you then go back to the drawing board?
Well, I think everyone's forgetting he had two heavy falls, and his confidence is probably very low. He probably just needs letting down and just forgetting about it for a while, you know, regroup.
Mm. All right, the Mullins juggernaut, something we discuss each and every year, I think. How do other trainers out there go, right, let's work out how we're going to stop this machine, or I guess you just try and worry about your own horses. But I would put it to you that year on year now, as we stand, he is stronger than ever. And the one thing that really strikes me is that this is a guy who, just over half a decade ago, give or take, hadn't won a Gold Cup and hadn't won a Champion Chase. And now, all of a sudden, the staying chase division and his chasers are just as frightening as his novice hurdlers and his young horses. The depth across the board is, frankly, devastating. And the level of domination, people say to me, oh, you forget Vincent O'Brien, you forget Michael Dickinson had a first 5 home in a Gold Cup. But they had, what, 80 horses? But the level of domination, the quantity of the quality is frightening. It's brilliant, but it's frightening, and frankly, it's unstoppable.
He had 74 runners, I think, during the week, 15 winners. Gordon Elliott had about 50 runners, and he mustered 2 winners. I mean, he's just, at the moment, Mullins is just streets ahead, and it's not going to, the juggernaut is not going to turn around any day soon, is it? It's going to go on like this for a while.
He said in his interview after Sandown, he said, you know, he'll talk to Patrick in the yard and just try and remind him that it's not normal. He referenced on that occasion that he'd finished second 6 or 7 Irish championships in a row, which really spurred him on. Not much danger of finishing second at the moment, but it's phenomenal. And the other thing I think we're seeing is, you know, there are some prominent owners. We've seen the Double Green, you've seen Brian Drew and Caroline Tisdale. There's a sign of horses being now over there as well, because it's attractive, isn't it, a proposition with having a horse with him?
They've got a bit of catching up to do.
Yeah.
I know the clock's ticking.
Great timing, Bob.
Always good on timing.
Sensational. John Gosden in the Guineas, he said coming into the race that it wasn't, massively at the forefront of his mind, and he's won so much, Jack, across a highly decorated career. I guess just from a sort of, looking at racing point of view, I want him to win a Guineas. It sort of defies logic as well with the types of horses he's had, right?
Oh, definitely. You'd almost associate Mr. Gosden with the Guineas and all the Group 1s around the world, considering what he's won. I did feel for him yesterday and the whole team at Clarehaven, but I'm sure he'll have his day.
I thought he was brilliant afterwards, by the way, in the interview, because I sort of crept up to him sort of apologetically, like sort of going, they're hard enough to do, those second interviews anyway, even when it's a, Class 4 down the road somewhere. But when it's a Guineas and a Classic and he's finished, he's gone so close before, including with this horse's sire, but he looked like it didn't bother him a huge amount. I'm sure it did, Roger. But
I'm sure it did, but John's got he's an amazing person, and he knows how hard it is to win any race, and he's a true gentleman, and he just takes it on the chin, and he understands that it didn't go right on the day, and but he didn't throw anyone under the bus or anything like. He knows that it just proves how hard it is to win these classics, because when you've got the likes of John Gosden that hasn't won one yet. I won a second in the Guineas, so I'm there with Gosden.
Was that tip to win?
Yeah.
You know what it's like.
I'd never been second in the Guineas, but second in the Guineas is great, but you must still feel gutted, don't you?
I was absolutely devastated. I remember driving home and said, we were delighted at the time, but I said, driving home, I said to the wife, I said, that was our only chance of ever winning a Classic, probably. And, yeah. But there you go.
There you go, then you had a derby. We should have called it Roger and the Guineas.
Too late.
Why did we go for Gosden?
Too late.
Sorry, Roger.
No, never mind. Next year.
Right, race divisions. So this is really off the back. A couple of weeks ago, we saw that there are a couple of ARC-owned racing clubs, Southern Racing Club, Amphitheatre Racing, whereby horses owned by those clubs were put into races to run, no wrongdoing. They were causing race divisions, and therefore increasing media rights back to the race courses, more levy, etc. That's the sort of precursor. To branch out from that, I thought that Lydia Hislop and Nick Luck on his podcast had an interesting discussion about race dividing as a whole, whose responsibility divisions about races should be. From your point of view, Roger, you've got on ARC all-weather tracks, you've got a maximum field size of 12. All-weather races now divide at 16. I guess the point I'm making is that it feels very easy for races in those divisions on all-weather tracks to divide and get your older horse who's not rated that highly a chance to run. If you look at the younger end of the spectrum and horses that haven't raced, do you find it harder in some ways to get those horses to the track and get them to run in the right sort of race for them?
Absolutely. I mean, I think any trainer gets disgruntled with race planning because it's so hard to, you have a horse ready to run and there's no races for it. Like a 3-year-old handicapper. It is frustrating that, and then, like you say, and then they'll put a race on at one particular, and then I'll put the same similar race on the same day, and then there's nothing for weeks, So I think race planning has to have a good look, speak to trainers what they want, and because there's so many horses that you've got in training, and you're telling owners, I can't find a race for this horse. And then they'll say, oh, there's one up in Musselburgh, but I train in Lambourne, I don't want to go to Musselburgh. And the expense of getting up there, it's just crazy, So I think race planning has to have a good look at itself.
Feels like at one end we're pretty geared up towards it, and there's often a lot of benefit in the instance I'm talking about for the racecourse. As a product, though, I'm not sure it's best serving the public.
It's not serving the public at all, really, is it? I think the BHA ought to take a firmer stance, as they should in many, many things. because it's an unsatisfactory state of affairs. As Roger was saying, there are a lot of horses that just don't get a run at all, which is not, trying to attract owners, not put them off.
Another point that was raised, should field sizes maximum field sizes be based upon a safety limit that is set by the legislator as opposed to the track itself? Otherwise, there's an element that a track can help themselves, if you like.
The safety limit is very much on the low side, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and there might be other reasons for that. Yeah, but exactly. Whereas
whether it's actually safety or something else, we don't really know, do we?
Breeze up prices. We move on to. I guess the Guineas Breeze this week, it didn't quite hit the headlines that Doncaster Sale had the week before that, and certainly the Craven Breeze Up had a few weeks ago. But again, have you bought any breezes this year?
I did, yeah. I bought 2 this week actually. Not intentionally, but just...
Not intentionally?
No, because one of my owners...
Yes, what did you do?
No,
You're trying to grab something?
One of my owners had... he's a nightmare during sales, and I spoke to him on the morning, and then he said, have you looked through? And then we ended up buying one, which is thing. And then my son Harry had consigned one, and she should have made double what she made, and I couldn't let her go through the ring for what she was making. But unfortunately, she had a bad slot, and most people had gone home, and she had a very nice pedigree.
Interesting, OK. So the slot's important?
Yeah, the slots, prime slots. And it was Harry's first consignment, so obviously you need to build up that relationship with the sales, and he got put at one of the later lots, and I was watching it on just online, and I said to the wife, there's no one in the ring. I mean, there's no one in there. And I knew that she was going to struggle, because you need punters to bid. And of course she was a cracksman filly, so maybe, yes, not attractive because everyone aren't speed, but she had a real lovely pedigree. So hopefully it's going to pay off that I managed. I didn't nick her because I was trying to help Harry, but it's just the way it worked out. And
is it the luck of a draw where the slot is?
I don't know. I think they sort of. I don't know. I don't know how they work it. I wouldn't like to say, to be honest, Bob. But I think if you consign a lot of horses, you get better slots. I think that's the way it works. And on pedigrees as well. Yeah,
and yeah, I suppose the ones that they're expecting to make a load is. But just on what we've seen, it is the growth at the top end. I'm just going to ignore this bell. The only one I'm going to ignore is it seems exponential at the moment, doesn't it? The money that's being spent at these breezes, almost you're looking at pedigrees, but going, I'm more interested in the fact that they've beaten 100 other horses in a time. It's the money being spent is incredible.
Absolutely,
it's beyond.
It's not always the fastest breeze that makes the best horse. So
no, we know that.
They were saying that the breeze ups at the Guineas were actually quicker than the Craven breeze up because of the ground. But the Craven breeze ups went for millions.
Yeah.
We move on to the Nigel Wakefield case earlier on in the week. Nigel works as travelling head lad for Mick Appleby. He's been banned from racing for a second time following a 2022 incident at Wolverhampton where he abused an official. What was described as a curse-laden tirade about ambulance taking up a space in a horsebox park. The point I guess I wanted to major on in here was this was in 2022.
How can it take so long?
And we're in 2025.
3 years. Surely you can't take 3 years to... I mean, the chap has obviously got a problem, Nigel Wakefield, and he needs help.
December 2022, so yeah, 2.5, I guess, for accuracy's purposes. It's an incredibly long time for something to be overhanging, Nigel, who, clearly he needed to be called in because of the foul-mouthed tirade and what occurred, and needed to be to have something handed down to him as a result. So I guess I'm not questioning the punishment per se. It's just, could we not deal with this on... I mean, is it almost not... Can you not deal with it there and then? You've got a steward, you've got a
I was going to say,
panel of stewards
you
in
can
there.
get it done in a matter of hours rather than years. It seems to be absolutely crazy. And also this chap, I mean, obviously he has got a bit of an anger problem, but I mean, he needs help in that time, and waiting 3 years is not going to help his mental attitude.
It's, you know, because you see in other sports, you'll get I know it's not exactly the same, but you'll get discipline there and then by a referee. You'll get moved up to the stands, and then it feels like within a week to 10-day process, you're dealt with.
Sorted out, yeah.
Whereas this is obviously something that's been overhanging for quite some time. Fortunately, nobody in here has ever fallen foul of something like this.
No, absolutely not.
What,
No,
road
he's a lovely
rage?
fella.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would never. Do you feel like it could be dealt with there and then? Is there something in place that something like this could be dealt with there and then, or not necessarily?
To be fair, I don't really know the ins and outs of the story, but yeah, I think 3 years is a long time, isn't it?
Well, if not there and then, the stewards could refer the incident to the BHA or whatever, and it could be sorted out within a week or so, not 2-3 years.
All right, race times and clashes. So the quarterly report of race times the BHA published this week, and produced a whole load of data, by the way, which was very useful and insightful. But I wanted to pick up on this, on punctuality of race times. So this is the year to date. So that's up to the 31st of March this year. This is race times, so they're going off within 2 minutes of the scheduled time. So you can see that there was a fall from 2022, but this has gone up now to 87.6. The next graphic will show you what that resulted in clashes-wise, which hasn't changed a huge amount into 2025. But the other key point now is the premierisation of racing and what this has resulted in with Saturday clashes. And so afternoon clashes percentage by year, and this is in that sort of prime slot, if you like, up to 5 p.m, which is really positive. That's gone down dramatically. Much has been made of premierisation, the marketing of it, what it means. But I think we can definitely say that clashes and the viewers' experience, whatever medium they're watching through, has improved based upon race times getting slightly more punctual and races moving to allow for fewer clashes.
I think there's been a big effort to try and stop these clashes. They're still, with the volume of racing, they're almost inevitable, aren't they? I mean, I was watching keenly on racing TV yesterday, and there weren't that many clashes. And I was looking at the times at Thirsk and Goodwood and Newmarket, and they were I reckon they were that was on the low side. I thought they did pretty well yesterday. I mean, there was a 2-year-old race at Thirsk where 2 horses had to be withdrawn, 1 refused to go in. The race was off about 3 or 4 minutes late, but they caught up pretty well. I think they're making a real concerted effort to try and get back on time.
And more often than not, guys, the reason a race goes off late, which is shown on the data there, is purely because a horse is late to the start. Now, there are a number of factors that can lead into that. I mean, namely, Jack, if you're at Newmarket, for example, you've got a long way to get there.
A long way to get there, and the stalls guys do a really good job. And the starters, when you get down there, their main concern is to get us off on time. Especially this year, they've been quite vocal about it. So,
have you noticed a difference?
Massively, yeah, yeah. I mean, we could probably do with more stall sanders down there, just to get things moving a bit quicker. But when we get down there, they're pretty on the ball.
All right, that is it for Talking Points today. Right, we're going to say goodbye to Roger now. What chances today?
He's in a 6-runner maiden. He's the outsider, but he's had 2 runs. If the ground was easier, I'd give him a good shout. But I don't know what we're taking on. They're pretty sexy bred horses that we're taking on. So yeah, hopefully. But he's run 2 encouraging races. The experience might tell.
Okay, you're not giving Jack a lift, are you?
No.
No, right. You're going to shoot. No. He's sticking around for a little bit longer to chat about him, then we'll let him go. And Robert's going to take a break and he'll be back in a little bit later on. See you in a sec.
Luck on Sunday. Brought to you by Whirlpool.